Hello, fellow gamers. Today I'm going to be doing a top 10 on fighting game series with the best gameplay in my opinion, or at least my favorite gameplays. Number 10 is Art of Fighting in my opinion because it introduced the super move, the desperation move, and it introduced the super meter, which if you're like, you can charge it up to do more super moves, and the more you do, the less stamina you'll have in the long run. And you have visible bruising, which Mortal Kombat took off with that in Mortal Kombat 9 and 10. I mean, Mortal Kombat versus DC to an extent, but mainly though the future games. Number 9 is Darkstalkers, which in my opinion has a great art style. Too bad it had only 3 games. But it's had so many cool animations, and the monsters were a unique take, like based on movie monsters that Universal have made. Most of them are, and some of them are based on Japanese and Chinese mythology, which is cool. And also, the chain combo system, which was put into Street Fighter Alpha, was a great touch as well. But yeah, mainly the art style and the chain combos are the big thing about it as well. Number 8 is Samurai Showdown. Mainly for like the damage system. You could actually, back in the day when you played Samurai Showdown in arcades, like not the American versions, but the Japanese versions, you would get the uncensored versions later in America, but you could slice the opponent in half or like make them spew out blood, which was a unique system as well. And weapons could break during gameplay, which is neat, and you'd have to get a new one, or you can lose your sword or weapon and you have to go back and pick it up, and you could pick up like health items during the gameplay, which is insane as well. And you had like a counter system as well, and you could kick and if you lose your sword and punch, but it's not as good as using the sword. So that was a great unique experience when I played all those games for the TikTok channel for a long time. Number 7 is Soul Calibur, which is another weapons-based fighter. In my opinion, this does the damaged armor thing real good. It invented it practically. And like when you lost your armor, you take more damage, basically. And the super moves were stunning in this game. Like, they looked so cool. The weapon designs were so cool. Like, look at Soul Calibur and Soul Edge. Those things are like amazing like weapons. They look like something out of like Oblivion or like some other game like Dark Souls or something. They're that cool. But yeah, mainly because of those, and the utility system, I guess, is also pretty good. Number 6 is Guilty Gear. In my opinion, it pioneered the anime fighting style and fighting gameplay. You can block in midair, you can move really fast, you can dash. I mean, King of Fighters also has dashing, but this is what made it way faster, more utilitable. And I like that it basically inspired Dragon Ball FighterZ, and that game is awesome. So you should check both games out. They're so great. Now we're in the top 5. Number 5 is Tekken. In my opinion, Tekken is probably the best 3D fighter of all time. Like, the gameplay is so good. It's basically slow, strategic foot spacing combat. And there's those slow-mo movements in Tekken 7 and 8 where like the camera will slow down and then whoever hits first gets like rewarded. That system is so great. I love the environmental like damage you can cause by like hitting people into the environment or hitting them off the environment. I like the combos, and the game is like hard to master too. Like, all the people keep their moves like throughout every single game and keep gaining more and more moves. So you never really lose moves basically, unless you're Jin, which you lost your moves, but everyone else basically hasn't. And there's like Kazuya has over 100 moves, King has over 200 moves. It's such a great game, hard to master. Number 4 is Mortal Kombat, and even though I'm not a big fan of the down over kick, down right punch or whatever for the inputs, or left, I'm more of a quarter circle or half circle because I feel it works better on my fingers. I got to give this game some credit that invented that move style, and it also invented the gore in video games and the gameplay, like where blood would spew out of the opponent. And basically, fatalities were also introduced into the game series, and basically, well, ever since the first game, And a lot of games copied that, like the first couple Killer Instincts did that. Samurai Showdown practically did it with its cutting them in half bits. And a lot of games have taken inspiration from its moves, like movesets, and its like gore into the gameplay. So I gotta give it its dues. Number 3 is the King of Fighters. I know, it's like basically my favorite fighting game series, but I have to put it at number 3. I mean, it introduced dashing, like crouch walking, introduced basically the rolling mechanics, dodging, introduced all of that you see in like modern fighting games today. And the quarter circle, I mean, it still has the quarter circle movement, so I like that as well. But the cheap bosses in the game, a little lower down, even though I like beating them, they're not like the easiest for beginners to beat. And sometimes the mechanics in the feature games aren't that good. Like the striker system, I feel like it was only good in like King of Fighters 2000 and no other game. And the tag mechanics were okay in like 2003 and 10, but not 10, 11. But other than that, I feel like it just stays at a number 3. It introduced so many new mechanics to fighting games, but I gotta leave it there. Number 2 is Street Fighter. Yeah, I didn't put it at number 1, but it's intuitive because of its half circle, quarter circle, 360 movements for a special move to be executed. Command normals, they wouldn't have been a thing without this series. We'd probably still be stuck to like wrestling games and boxing games if it weren't for this series. And yeah, it inspired so many fucking games, like so many games. And it's great. I mean, there's no Street Fighter game that's bad other than maybe base Street Fighter 5 and base Street Fighter 3. It didn't get good till Second Impact or Third Strike. So yeah. And number 1 is the Capcom versus games. I'm counting as Capcom versus SNK, Capcom versus Tatsunoko, and I'm including Marvel versus Capcom because all 3 of those games are like so great. I love their gameplay. A lot of people love their gameplay, and some people want them to be released to the public in any certain way. And like Marvel versus Capcom is being teased, and Capcom versus SNK or SNK versus Capcom is getting teased. Whichever title they're going to choose. And I just like their art styles. I like their games. I like all of them. Like, there's nothing bad. And, like, if it weren't for X-Men versus Street Fighter, none of this would have been possible. None of these crossovers would have been possible. And we got Street Fighter X Tekken because of it. We got, like, a whole bunch of other crossovers. Marvel versus... Well, not Marvel. DC versus Mortal Kombat. Or Mortal Kombat versus DC. Wouldn't have been a thing. Injustice might have not have been a thing. And that's why these games are so important. And I love the fast-moving gameplay. And the blocking in the air and the tag moves that you can do. And the unique special moves, tag special moves you can do. They're so great. And that's my list for my top 10 favorite fighting games based on gameplay. Hopefully you enjoyed watching. Leave a like if you like it. And give me a follow if you want to see more of this kind of content.